Hey, what's up? Today we are going to look at timeline and milestones. I'm Christian from Vision 6D, and timeline is really an important communication tool for project managers. As you see, I have behind me a construction project. It was the renovation of a house, and just here up above me is the timeline that I used into this project. So we are going now to look how with MS Project we can build something like that and how I'm using it. So let's dig into it. I'm walking up the timeline till I reach the point which is in red, the projected room. In this project we had 4 parts to do. We had the kitchen, the bathroom, the facade and the studio. In the beginning of this project there is a stage that I call initiation, which is the start of the project. In that phase I looked exactly at what I wanted to do and I searched for partners to work with me, like carpenters, plumbers, electricians and so on. And this is why I gave me a time which is of 6 months, which is search for partners. After that, I spent some time on the budget. And once I had the budget and I knew what I wanted to do, I could give me the go for the project. Once I have the go for the project, I started to place orders and to sign contracts. With this, I was really engaged into the project. And then I could, with the different supplier, start to plan the project. It's that small element in yellow which is the planning of the project. Then after you will see in orange what is the execution. I didn't detail it, but it's when the work was really realized and really done. At the end of the project there is the closing of the project, and this led us to more or less the 15th of October. So I have placed this project during this year. For the people watching this in the future, it will be in the past. So what is that space in white in the middle? So once I placed orders, like for example for the windows we were changing, we had about 12 weeks to wait before we were delivered. So it's why once the order were placed, there was a waiting time of about 3 months. So what I just did in front of you, it's the way to report for a steering committee or for your team, for stakeholders. So this is the way to communicate with the timeline provided for your project by MS Project. And now we are going to go into MS Project and look at how we do this, how we build that timeline. So here I am in MS Project, and you can see on the timeline which is here up, it's exactly the picture that I used in the short presentation I did to you about my project. To help you practice the tutorial at the same time, on our website vision6d.com/download, you will be able to download the file that is the start of this project. Like that, you can concentrate on the timeline and you don't have to rekey all the tasks and do the planning. So the project of the house renovation is here displayed in front of you with its most important parts. But of course that you can open execution and you will see all the details of the project. So this is what we are providing you on our website. Here up you have the timeline going down, so you see that the project started on the 17th September and it's going to finish here by the 15th October. You can enlarge this part because we are going to put several components on it. In case that you don't see it or that it's bothering you, the timeline, you go into View, and here you see you can have a checkbox for the timeline. So if I click on it, the timeline disappears, and of course if I check it back, it's going to come back. So here I will enlarge it. So first of all, we are going to talk about milestones. Milestones, as you can see, they are here like the 20th of February. They are those small diamonds that you see. So how do we do that with MS Project? It's quite simple. It's with the duration that you put to 0. So I will do the opposite in saying that, for example, the approval is a meeting that will last 2 hours. And you see that I have a duration here which is in place. So if I want there to have a milestone, I have to go and to put this to 0 days. Like that, immediately I have a date and I have that small diamond showing me that it is a milestone. When you are closing a phase, you should have something that marks that moment. Either documents, decisions, meetings. So this was one way to do it. You see, the closing is also defined as a milestone. How did I do this? I'm saying this because I did it in a different way. I went into information, and you see that we can go within advanced and we can mark this as a milestone. So I will remove it, and I want to be more precise in what I'm doing. It's when we are going to thank all the people that participated in the project. So it's a party that is going to last 2 hours. Since it's a duration, nothing is appearing here as a milestone or showing up as a diamond. So I will use what I just showed to you. I go into information, and within the advanced part of the information, I'm going to mark this as a milestone. And look what happens. It's that, in fact, the diamond has become blue, showing that there is a duration associated to that milestone. So this is the second way to do a milestone. Now we want to see those milestones on the timeline. So I'm going to the first of those milestones, which is the project approval. And simply by right-clicking, you see that you have already added to timeline. So I'm doing this, and you see that the project approval immediately comes on the timeline. I will go now down to add the second one, which is the end of work party, which is actually already on the timeline because I left it from a previous session, which is here, display on timeline. So if I remove this, you will see that it is removed from the timeline. So I will go simply by double-clicking on the task and select display on the timeline. Like that, we have the two milestones we would like to have, the project approval and the end of work party, on our timeline. Because it is important in a project to show already that there is a planned end of work party. So now I want to place on the timeline the initiation. So I go and I select initiation, right-click on it and add to timeline. And you see immediately it comes its position, and we can see the duration will be from the 17th of September to the 27th of February. When you go on the bar, you see that we get the explanation of the start date, finish date, duration and percent complete. Now I will do the same with the execution. Add to timeline. I will also do it with the planning. I add it to the timeline. And you see that since there are overlapping times, MS Project opened a second line here. So we have initiation, we have the planning, we have the execution. What is missing for me is also the budget. So I'm going to add the budget to the timeline. As you can see, the budget is barely seen. So what I will do is that I will right click on it and I will display it as a callout. Callout, you see that it's a box that comes and that you can place where you want it. I would like also to show on this timeline the contracts and order. So I can do again. I do it with the second way to do it. I come here. It's again shown here inside, but it's again something really small that we can't see, which is here in the middle. So I'm again going to change this to display it as a callout. You see it came here up and I want to show it here. Like that we can see the budget, when is the project approval, and the work that comes with contracts and order. And into this you see that every time we have the detail, we see when it starts, we see when it finishes. My report was pre-formatted with colors since I had already worked on it. Yours might look like mine if you are using the template, or it might look like what I have here in front of me, the default colors proposed by MS Project. So in order to improve this, I'm going here to select the project approvals, Milestone, and to change the color to red and to emphasize it a bit. So after that, I'm going here into initiation. Initiation, I like the blue, I leave it as such. The plan, here, I will select a clear yellow, and execution, I will also select another color here, which is that light orange that we have here. My report was pre-formatted with colors since I had already worked on it. Yours might look like mine if you are using the template, or it might look like what I have here in front of me, the default colors proposed by MS Project. So in order to improve this, I'm going here to select the project approvals, Milestone, and to change the color to red and to emphasize it a bit. So after that, I'm going here into initiation. Initiation, I like the blue, I leave it as such. The plan, here, I will select a clear yellow, and execution, I will also select another color here, which is that light orange that we have here. I emphasized on the fact that I was looking for suppliers for a period of 6 months, so I would like also to add that supplier search to the timeline. Like that we will see what happens if we are displaying one task which is within a summary task. So you see that it picks the same color as the summary task, and you see that it is entailed into the initiation. With that, I'm now at the point where you have on the timeline the same diagram as what I presented to you during the introduction. In the timeline we have an interesting feature. We can follow and track the project. So we are going now to say, in our project, if I come here to the project and I set a status date, let's say that we are going back in time, but this is for the sake of learning. So let's say that we are the 20th of December 2018. We say OK for that, and now I'm going into the task here, and you see I selected the task supplier search. And what I want to say is that I'm about to be done, I have done 75% of that task. So I come here up into the tasks, and you see that I have the mark where I can click on it to say that it's complete at 75%. So watch what happens on the timeline when I click. So immediately you see that it jumped to a darker blue to show me where about we are. And if I leave the mouse, you see in the middle that there is the completion percentage that jumped to 75%. So of course I'm showing it here. If you detail more execution, you are going to track the different aspects that you have on the timeline, which is really convenient also for a presentation of your project or a presentation to stakeholders. One other also interesting feature, you right click on the timeline, you see that you can copy the timeline for email, for presentation or full size. For presentation, when I copy it here and then I switch to PowerPoint, you see that I have my presentation here and I will paste it here inside. So you see that it is exactly what I had on my screen, and PowerPoint already pre-selects every element, since every element is defined as an object for PowerPoint in the Office environment. So of course now you can act with this, change the color, move the element, add things to prepare a good presentation. But I must admit that most of the time, to be fast, I simply do a copy of the screen and I paste it as such, because most of the time you are rushing to prepare a presentation, it has to be simple. So this is the way I practice most of the time. I have here in this project changed something, which is I've placed a lot of the contracts and orders that I have to place as 0-day duration, that they show up as milestones. So you see, I have a lot of milestones, of new milestones in this project. I've done this, and now I can go into report. And into report, you see here, I have report for what is in progress. And you see that I have a milestone report. So I'm going to click on this, and you see that we keep the timeline, but below comes a report for milestones. That report is separated in 3 parts. Milestones that are late, milestones that are coming, which are the next one to do, and completed milestones. So here we also have the burn down of all the tasks that have to be performed in the project. So in my situation, I have no milestone which are late, and if I want to have completed milestones, I need to do the tracking of my project. So I will go now back to the Gantt chart, and I will say, let's admit that the set for the kitchen here is completed. So I go into the task and I will say that this is completed 100%. So we see here that those tasks are considered as completed, and now we are going to generate again the milestone report. And you see, as expected here in the completed milestones, we have the 2 that were completed, and here we have the list of the left ones. So this is the way to handle milestone reports. So I remind you that you can go to vision6d.com/download to get the file that will help you to do that tutorial. I hope that this brought you a lot of information, that now you know a bit more about MS Project and you need to practice to feel confident with milestones and timeline. For me, it was a pleasure. You liked it, you thumb up, subscribe to the channel, tell your friend, share it, and for me, it's a pleasure to see you in another video. So have a good time, see you, bye-bye.